Hey, welcome back everybody to another Divi theme tutorial. My name is Alex. In this video we're going to talk about something pretty interesting. In the Udemy class that I teach, one of my students asked me how I would go about creating a lead magnet opt-in funnel natively in Divi. Does Divi have the ability to do that? And the answer is yes and no. And the only reason that I say no is because in a perfect world, I think the perfect setup would be to use an email marketing platform where you have the embed on your website, people give the email, and then the email marketing platform would send an email to that user, number one, to verify their email, but number two, to give them whatever your lead magnet is. That's, I think, a perfect way to do that. However, if you're working for a startup or you're bootstrapping and you don't have the budget for that right now and you just want to start collecting email addresses, you can do it natively in Divi, and I'm going to show you how I would go about doing it. And when we get further into it, I'll explain kind of the reasons why I think this isn't perhaps the perfect situation, but I think it's a good way to get started for sure. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to work backwards through this. And so we're going to start with a thank you page. So let's create the page, and I'm just going to call it thank you. And this would be the page that people see after they give you their email address for the lead magnet. They're going to get redirected to this page. So we'll go ahead and use the Divi builder. And I'll build from scratch, but if you have a layout that you want to use in an existing site, obviously do that. I'll add a text module, and I'm just going to say thank you, whatever text that you want to have there. And then I would say something, like thank you for whatever, for getting your free gift, whatever. Click the button on this page to download your free guide, your free opt-in, your how to, whatever, whatever your lead magnet is. You can have your text here thanking, but you want to tell them to click the button. And then we'll have a button on this page. And so this is part of the reason why I don't think this is a perfect solution, because there's not a great way out of the box with Divi to just email them the download. So we're going to take them to a thank you page that has the download here. And we'll have the button, and then so for the button text it'll say something like, download your free guide, or whatever your lead magnet is. And then for the link, what we're going to do is I'm going to come back over to my dashboard in another tab here. I'm going to hit the media library, and we'll upload, like let's say it's a PDF, and this is just some generic PDF I found online. I think it was probably in Canva, some free graphic. We're going to copy the URL to the clipboard, and then this is what we're going to put in here. As a rule of thumb, anytime I link to an external website or a document or PDF, I always like to set the link target to a new tab. I think it's just better for the user experience. That way when they click this button, it'll open the PDF in a new tab. Maybe they'll download it, maybe they'll read it right there, whatever they want to do. But if they close that tab, if it's in the same tab, now they've exited out of your website. If it's in a new tab, that tab will close. They'll go back to the original tab, which is your thank you page, and then they can continue browsing your website. So style this up however you want. Make sure you have your download button here. And then we're going to save it. We're going to copy the URL. And then we're going to go back to whatever page you want to have your lead magnet on. One more thing to mention about this thank you page. If you are using any type of an SEO plugin, Rank Math, SEO Press, Yoast, whatever, most of them give you the option to hide individual pages from both search results within the website, but also to prevent them from being indexed by search engines like Google, Bing, whatever. And you're going to want to make sure you do that for this thank you page. And if you can prevent it from showing up in your sitemap as well, that will be good. And the reason that you want to do that is because you don't want anybody stumbling upon this page without giving you their email address, which is the big reason why I feel like this method is a bit flawed, but doing it natively in Divi, this is just how you have to do it. You want to make sure this page is hidden, and the only way that they get here is by going through your opt-in on whatever page or pages that you listed on. And it might also be a good idea to maybe obfuscate this URL a little bit. Maybe instead of a URL like thank you, it could just be a random string of, letters and maybe some numbers or whatever, just so nobody can guess it, or less likely to guess it, I should say. That might be a good way to go about this as well. But anyway, we're going to copy this URL. We're going to jump back to the home page, which is where we are going to add this opt-in. But feel free to add it to whatever page or theme template that you want. We'll enable the visual builder. Now this is where I think some people get caught up, because they'll go to add it and they'll say, oh, I'm collecting emails, I'm going to add the email opt-in module, which Divi has. And this is not what you want to use. And the reason that you don't want to use this is because you need to connect this to a service provider. If we're just starting out and we don't have a service provider, this module is not going to do us any good. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the contact form module. And we'll delete the message, and you'll see that we have name and email address. Now, this is a personal preference thing. I like to standardize all my field IDs no matter what. So if I was using this, I would just type in name. But actually for this one, I'm going to make it first name, because I just want people to know I only want their first name. That's really all I need to collect. You can collect more if you want. I find this is a very low barrier to entry for a lot of people. They're comfortable giving you their first name and their email. So this is where I use it, or I usually leave it. And when I say I standardize the field ID, I make it all lowercase. I don't do any spaces. I do underscores. And the contact form module traditionally has had trouble with non-English characters. So if English isn't the language that you are writing your website in or your content in, your field ID, I think it needs to be English characters. Otherwise, there could be some issues with deliverability and stuff. Or reliability of it collecting the information. So I always, just as a rule of thumb, I lowercase and underscore for spaces. And then I'm going to do the same for email. And we'll call it email address. Alright, and then in the success message, we actually don't need this. They're not really ever going to see it. Submit button, I would say something like I'll do claim my free guide, or whatever makes sense for whatever your download is. Just some kind of call to action. I don't like leaving it as submit. Submit is just so generic and there's no incentive there. So I like to use kind of some actionable text for my form buttons. Claim my free guide. Email. So this is the email that gets delivered to you. You would put in your email, whatever, domain.com. For the message pattern, I don't recommend leaving this blank for this because, and maybe this has happened, I haven't used the contact form a lot in Divi. I use Gravity forms personally, but you don't want to leave this blank, because traditionally what would happen if you had an email field, it did not get included in the email body that was sent to you by your website. So if I were to fill this out, or somebody were to fill this out, the email I would get on my end would just give me the first name. Divi uses the email address in the reply to email, so I can just reply to it and it would go to them, but the email itself would not be included in the body of the email. Again, this may have changed in newer versions of Divi, I'm not sure, but I would do this if this was me. And what I'm doing right here is using the placeholder, or this will be substituted for the value that the user puts in first name, and this is the field ID I gave to that first name field. And if you click the question mark here, it'll explain it a little bit more, where you can have your custom patterns and things. But that's what it is, %%, whatever the field ID is, %%, email. There. So now when I get an email, it'll say, hey, here's their first name, here's their email, and now me manually, whatever I'm doing with it on the back end, whether I'm adding it to a spreadsheet or just keeping it in my email for later to do something with, that's fine. But this will be easy for me to extract that email out of there and get it into my email marketing platform when I'm ready to do so. Alright, so we got that set up. The next thing we're going to do is the redirect. We're going to enable the redirect URL, and we're going to set this to that thank you page that we created. So now what's going to happen, somebody's going to fill this out, and then they're going to get redirected to the thank you page that then has the download. It's not, again, it's not the ideal way to do it, but if you're doing it just in Divi natively, no plugins, you don't have an email marketing platform, you're bootstrapping, you're just trying to collect some email addresses and hit the ground running, this is exactly how I would do it. That's all there is to it. They'll fill this out. They'll go to the thank you page. They'll download the thank you. I recommend, if you are doing it that way, maybe after the download button on your thank you page, you have some call to action to maybe guide them to do something else, so that way their experience on your website doesn't just stop when they download the freebie. Maybe move them on to some other relevant articles on the website or whatever you want them to do. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you found some value. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to get more videos like this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.